Did you know that I am running out of ideas for funny intros? Ever since Sonic Adventure 1998 JP release date came out on the Sega Dreamcast, Eggman could be heard. Because he could finally talk. But no, more specifically, he could be heard talking about wanting to build Robotnik Land, known as Eggmanland eventually, as an end goal of his in many of the games he was featured in, which was basically every Sonic game because Sonic game. Imagine if this was really a final level. Imagine how hard that would be. It'd be so cool though. Oh well, we have other Eggman themed bases for final levels. Yep, no Eggman Land, ever. At least we got stuff like the Ark or the Death Egg, Egg Carrier, Final Egg. Anyways, Sonic Unleashed 2008 NA release date released, and the final level is finally Eggman Land. Eggman had finally made what he always wanted to make for 10 years now. Not in canon, I mean, in the real lifetime of these games releasing. Eggman Land was, actually still is, the hardest Sonic level ever. It's insanely long, pushes the game's mechanics and level gimmicks to its furthest, and demands the most out of the player. Or well, not really, but feels like it on a first playthrough. Rip Chimney Swift's Sonic Unleashed playthrough, he never got past Eggman Land. But despite all this, I feel as if it's still all fair, and the perfect way to end the game. And I'm here to... Shh! What's their problem? Me? No, I couldn't possibly be that. Oh, you meant what I'm doing here in this library. Well, you didn't actually speak to me. I'm talking to a camera, but I'm just here trying to figure out more about that super definitely very evil entity that I've run into twice now. Because the internet had nothing about them, and the fact that I spotted them under my home is a bit worrying. No, this book about video game history wasn't it either. Everywhere's got to have that secret library with books about forbidden powers and such. Where is it? Huh? Yeah! So yeah, Eggman Land. The hardest level in one of the hardest Sonic games. What makes it so much better than any other final level in a Sonic game though? Well, for one, it's about the only huge difficulty spike in Unleashed when it comes to entire levels. Unleashed is a hard game, but still follows traditional video game rules of having its levels one by one get progressively harder and harder, so it feels somewhat natural as you go. But Eggman Land breaks that in this game by very clearly having a big step up in difficulty. But instead of that being a bad thing, it's a good thing here. I can't really explain why I feel like Eggman Land manages to do the whole spike in difficulty thing, but it's just enjoyable. It's a fun challenge. Maybe it's because it doesn't really introduce many new level gimmicks, and when it does, it's immediately very clear as to how they work. For the most part, we'll get to that. And it doesn't really get much deeper than that at all. Most of the level instead focuses on pushing existing mechanics to their limit, while sprinkling in some of its own new mechanics. The quick time events, these button launcher things, rail grinding, sledding, skydiving, all of it. If it was in a previous level, it's probably in here and taken one step further. I guess it'd be most logical to start at the beginning of the level, which is a fantastic introduction to what you're about to be playing for the next while. It all starts off in an enclosed interior area, with mainly some enemies to defeat and some shortcuts to take to bypass killing all the enemies. When you then hit a dash panel where it gives you the craziest quick time event ever in the game up to this point to show you the level isn't messing around or pulling any punches while Sonic flies through the air out into the open, showing you just how large this place is. And then you drop like a rock into the pit because it was required to quick time event and you weren't quite expecting that. Once you actually get out into this wider open area, well, this level is possibly the most open day stage in the game. There's plenty of paths that either take you to whole new areas or simply just cut through smaller bits of the level. There's about 3 unique pathways you can take here, all of which show you new mechanics that this level has to offer in their most basic form, mainly the glowing platforms and treadmills. Well, this level does show you that stuff if you don't take the very top path that just cuts through this whole section entirely, but shut up! New players won't know about that anyways! Eventually though, all of the pathways converge in one little hallway that you go through, and you'll more than likely end up boosting into an hourglass from the hub worlds? Yep, this level, just like the hub worlds, has you switching between the Werehog and Day Sonic, just like in the hub worlds. Why'd I say that twice? This time in a level setting. I actually don't have much to say on the Werehog segments here. It's more of what you've come to expect, just harder. The stretchy arm platforming, the fighting, it's all really fun, but it's not really all that much different here aside from just your more than likely upgraded Werehog compared to earlier in the game, which is fine. But it would have been really cool to see maybe just a bit more new stuff sprinkled in here for the werehog, just like Day Sonic. Anyways, you make your way through this first werehog segment doing werehog things, and then get to the next Sonic Day segment. This is when the level switches over to showing you what it has in store for 2D, which is these pusher things. And okay, look, I might have lied about this level only sprinkling in new stuff on top of the old stuff, but my point still mostly stands. Look, it wasn't intentional, I swear. I'm not sure if you can tell, but I don't research my videos or put much thought beyond my opinions into the writing. I just want to rant about stuff I like, okay? Anyways, yeah, these pusher things seem immediately obvious as to how they work. But I've seen multiple people be caught off guard by them the first time they encounter these, despite the game literally giving you a safe way to learn how these work by having an enemy you can homing attack, which then triggers the first push off stage block thing. And the player can see it, but oh well, I never said Eggmanland was the perfect finale level, I only said it was the best. Anyways, you push on through this section and it takes advantage of these pushers and there's multiple pathways, blah blah blah. Look, the important part is that you leave this interior area back to outside, and this time the game pushes a bobsledding mechanic further and you get launched out of a roller coaster, and it's a lot of fun. Although, I guess the game knew this would be a bit difficult for newcomers and added a life before this checkpoint, which, yes, does respawn with you respawning. Is this where they keep the banned books? Captain Underpants? Oh wait, it's probably that secret library I was hoping for. Yes! Instead of some boring history books, these are just even more boring history books. This is not what I'm looking for. I gotta think. Random, aggressive, evil, hot pink entity with gooey stuff on them that functions like some weird form of magic that I accidentally freed from a building? What was that building supposed to be anyways? It doesn't matter. While looking for who killed the jump dash, what book would go over any of that? Huh. After the death fricking coaster thing, you go back to the werehog, and finally this is where the level focuses far more on the interior for a sizable chunk of time, and it looks great. It feels very uninviting and harsh with the lava floors and metal walls all around you with occasional neon lights. Well, you know, it would look a lot nicer if the werehog had a drop shadow, but it's fine. Also, this is where the werehog's mechanics are pushed further with tubes that you can't really grab onto the ledge to. That's it, that's all there is. I mean, it's a good evolution of the mechanic. I'm sure like 90% of us when we were younger, instead of actually bouncing, we just grabbed onto the sides and held forward. It's just that there's no drop shadow. Oh, and also there isn't more of this for the werehog, unfortunately. Oh, actually, you know what? There is something to say for the werehog here, actually. At the end of this room and the next room, there's these rooms with enemies that spawn not infinitely, but sure feels like infinitely for a first-time slightly under-leveled player who's also probably a young kid. You have to move a switch to open the door to move on. The problem is that something about the werehog, and I don't know what it is, maybe it's its marketing that focused on the combat, or the internet talking about how slow and combat focused the werehog is without any way of skipping any combat sections, which is false BTW, you can beat Dragon Road in under 5 minutes, but no one, and I mean no one, ever thinks to just flip the switch, ever. They think they need to kill all of these enemies until the end of time before they can move on. I did this when I was younger too. It's only after like dying 5 times, aka probably game overing for 90% of people, that someone finally gets the message to just go for the switch. I guess this is a game telling you, hey, you can skip enemies if there's no force field or anything forcing you to kill the enemies, which would be a perfect teaching device if it was put somewhere earlier in the game. I'm starting to doubt this is quite fair, actually. By the way, this is kind of unrelated, but the fire particle effects in this game remind me of Flamin' Hot Cheetos. Anyways, you get to another hourglass, and does anyone else wonder what happens canonically at these hourglasses in the level, by the way? Does Sonic just kind of like sit there for 12 hours? Waiting for it to be night so he can transform, or vice versa? Anyway, Day Sonic again, and wow! More pusher blocks in 2D, and this time it's really stressful to navigate and platform on these things without being pushed off. It's fun. I don't know what else to say on this. It's just fun. After that part is when you really start going deep into Eggmanland. It really feels like you're going into the guts of this place, as deep down into the ground as possible so you can get that last emerald into place. So sorry, I know I should probably explain what that means because I have friends and family who know nothing about Sonic watching my channel, but I really don't feel like explaining it. Go watch a cutscene compilation or something. Also, just throwing it out there, the skydiving segment here is the worst in the game. I'm sorry, the skydiving controls here suck so bad. I know Sonic Frontiers skydiving controls felt really basic and unrealistic in comparison, but at least I could control that one. I'll take those controls in a heartbeat over this any day. Also, a fun little bit of level design. There's a diverging path based on whether or not you choose to switch to the werehog here. Sorry, I never went werehog here. I always take the day Sonic route, so I don't really have much more to say on this, but you know, I thought it was just cool. Now it really feels like you're deep into this place, like you were never meant to see these parts of the level. The inner workings of Eggmanland. You go through inner working-y stuff that I don't know the name of, with the exception of these tubes and fans, also known as vents. Yeah! Also semi-related to the segment you're in at this part of the level, but god, the werehog really needed to take better advantage of its platforming mechanics and all, because this is all so much fun. I like the combat, but the platforming is easily the best part of the werehog gameplay. Anyway, soon enough you're in the final two rooms, both pretty large in size. The first one pitting you against one strong Dark Gaia Titan, and the second one against two Dark Gaia Titans with slightly less health. It's pretty difficult your first time through, but there's plenty of barrels with low unleash orbs and offensive and defensive buffs and rings, which are, you know, health. Particularly before each arena, you're given some sort of buff and max unleash meter if you break the barrels. After defeating the Dark Gaia Titans, after 50 minutes for first time players and 15 minutes for experienced players, the goal ring in the second room appears and you're at the Dark Gaia Temple door and it's very good and stuff. So like, this isn't really the best Sonic level, or the best finale level. There's lots of flaws despite what I had thought going in, but I don't know, I can't help it, I love this level. In my mind, it's the perfect final level for a Sonic game, potentially the perfect final level ever. I just love playing it over and over, and it's an insanely fun challenge to me, even if it is kind of flawed looking at it from the perspective of a new player. Especially so for younger kids too. I didn't mention this earlier because I was trying to pretend that this level is perfect or something, but when I was younger, I could not get past this level for the longest time, so I did what any normal kid would do in a video game situation like this. I went to the POTUS hub world and kept reloading it over and over after grabbing the one life I could get from it so I could grind my way up to 99 lives. I mean, hey, it worked! I got past Eggmanland and the final boss, and you know what? Just like every other part of this game, I'm gonna unfairly defend this with my life by saying, just like the Sun and Moon medals, I enjoyed it simply because it forced me to take more time to relax in and explore the game's world before just rushing to the ending. Is that a good excuse for this level? No. But I don't care, I loved it at the time. Anyways, I'm dragging this conclusion out way too much, so TLDR, or TLDW, I love Eggmanland. I found it to be the perfect final level in any game, but that's only because I'm not very critical towards media I like, and probably don't have good taste. Anyways, yeah, Eggmanland is very flawed. Well, that's convenient.